We're about to start part 4 to learn more about the code sent in some of the most documented UFO cases in history. What if hidden within the digital fabric of our world, embedded in something as seemingly mundane as ASCII code, lies a dire warning about humanity's future? Linda has been presented with startling information from high-ranking military insiders, cryptic messages encoded in the very language of computers, suggesting that Earth is for certain being monitored, and that we may be in grave danger. Are these transmissions a form of extraterrestrial disclosure, or a desperate attempt to prepare us for an unseen threat lurking beyond the stars? In this detailed 4th installment, we delve deeper into the mysteries of the ASCII revelations and what they could mean for every citizen of Earth. If you're like me and find UFO phenomena interesting, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, where we cover some of the most historical cases documented. Thank you for watching The Storyist.
A great black spear that remained stationary for an hour-long conflict. Some UFOs crashed and burned, as you can see in the lower right of this famous woodcut by German artist Hans Glaser. So who in that aerial UFO battle might have been protecting humanity, as stated in the Sergeant CJ binary code, quote, continuous protection of humanity, continuous for hundreds of years, thousands of years, millions of years. David Wilcock and Corey Good now say that they have information that there have been large monument, pyramid building, other intelligences on this planet, on the moon, throughout this solar system, throughout the Milky Way galaxy for 500 million years. That's 500 million. Where did they go? Now, what could the battle be about? Let's go deeper into binary code messages by comparing Sergeant CJ's string of zeros and ones to Sergeant Jim Peniston's back on December 26, 1980. That was the night that Sergeant Peniston, with Airman First Class John Burroughs and Airman Ed Kavansak, were ordered into Rendlesham Forest to investigate strange colored lights moving around in the tall forest. It was on civilian land that ran along RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge, and then, at that time, that was NATO's largest airbase. This is page 1 of the binary code written down by Sergeant Peniston after he touched the raised symbols on the surface of a mysterious black, glassy triangular craft on the forest ground. The red lines mark off the groups of 8 zeros and ones to match against that ASCII code that I showed you, that would translate for letters and numbers and caps and lowercase and punctuation. At the right is the summary translation beginning with exploration of humanity, a series of binary numbers. Then it says, this was the original translation, 3 times 333 or 666, and then the number 8100. This is page 2 of Peniston's binary code that translates into that latitude and longitude, which turns out to be Nuremberg, Germany. And the all-capped word continuous for planetary advance. 4th coordinate, continuous, question mark, all caps CEPR, question mark, before. And after the word before on page 5, Peniston's writing trails off, stopping. After those first 5 pages of code were translated, Peniston then released one more batch of zeros and ones. This is Peniston's personally approved and official release of his binary code translations, in which he added 6 more latitudes and longitudes that, depending on the decimal point placement, which is totally interpretive, these sites could be Caracol, Belize, Sedona, Arizona, the Great Pyramid in Giza, Egypt, the Nazca Lines in Peru, Taishanku in China, and the portal at the Temple of Apollo in Naxos, Greece. And then these strange words, quote, eyes of your eyes. And in the last line, the number 8100 is repeated as, all caps, origin year 8100. If you subtract Earth year 1980 from 8100, you get 6,120 years in the future for the time travelers instead of 40,000 years as Peniston thought after his hypnosis. But it can also be argued that the time travelers from a distant future were not referring to Earth-based 365-day year cycles of time. It is also important to understand that Peniston did not have any decimal placements in his string of zeros and ones. So each latitude and longitude could be any one of 24 possibilities, according to retired astronomer Mike Reed. For example, in the second line, latitude and longitude, when a decimal was tried in a different position than the high Brazil option shown here, it precisely matched right down to like a square foot, the town center of Woodbridge, not far from the air base and Rendlesham Forest. Professor Reed felt strongly the Woodbridge option made more sense because the black triangle craft would likely be emitting a continuous stream of location information to whoever sent it to Rendlesham Forest. All of the name locations in parentheses are arbitrarily selected decimal point placements as well, but were more logical choices than other latitude-longitude possibilities that were out in the oceans in the middle of water, except for the selection of High Brazil, which came from an ancient sea story about an island west of Ireland that only appeared once every 7 years. Adding to its mystery were the tales of people who actually went out in boats trying to reach the island and who never could, and the Ancient Aliens TV program chose that option because that fit the Ancient Aliens theme, and that's why it's on the list instead of Woodbridge Town Center. Okay, now let's compare Sergeant CJ's first June 30th, 2016 binary translation on the top, 35 years after Sergeant Peniston's first binary release from his December 26, 1980 encounter. Words that stand out as similar over those 35 years and two different binary experiences are continuous, humanity, and advanced planetary survival. Another such warning about planetary survival came in this binary code discovered in a wheat field next to Crabwood Copse in the village of Pitt, near Winchester, Hampshire, England, on August 15, 2002. The gray alien head and binary code disk are in front of BBC Winchester's tall broadcast antenna. The 60 thin horizontal lines are thought to simulate an early 20th century TV broadcast. That's when they had all of these lines in the TV sets. The implication seemed to be that the crop formation was a reply to Earth TV signals, but was the warning from the alien depicted in the wheat holding the binary disk? Or was the warning about the alien in the wheat pattern? The three star-like objects on the alien shoulder resemble the famous Orion belt stars, so many people have thought that there is a threat from something associated with the Orion constellation. The start of the Crabwood August 15, 2002 binary spiral of code begins, and you see part of it, the black 0010, and that is the beginning. You can see capital B over here from the ANSCII 8-bit 0, 1, 0, 0, and B, and the 0, 1, 0, 0 is going from bottom to top around in a spiral. That's where the capital B comes in. And then the rest of the message, which is in standing crop and laid crop, the standing crop would be the ones, the flat crop would be the zeros, and you get BEWARE. And a lot more. The entire ASCII 8-bit translation of the Crabwood spiral binary code is, quote, beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception, conduit closing, close quote. A similar message was repeated 13 years later on June 23, 2015, near the airport of Turin, Italy, also known as Torino. This city is where Jesus Christ's alleged burial shroud is kept. Geneticist Horace Drew, PhD, from Sydney, Australia, tackled these very difficult rings of binary code that included 128 small circles in straight lines between 16 triangular rays of the outermost ring. His binary translation of that outer ring is Timeo et Ferentes, or beware et bearing gifts. Dr. Drew said the Torino, Italy, June 23, 2015 summer solstice wheat pattern, quote, it looks like a clock, but we have to rotate the inner wheel to match the outer wheel, close quote. And even though the inner ring binary code is not clear, Dr. Drew thinks some of it warns about a Trojan horse event coming to Earth. He wonders if the Trojan horse is an invasion attack by gray ETs from Orion and Zeta Reticuli, warned about by the Emerthers in Sergeant CJ's binary code. And that came only 7 days later on June 30th, 2015 in Wadley, Georgia. So you have the event in Torino, Italy on June 23rd, and then you have the encounter with the 820-foot wide disc and the zeros and ones on the back of the receipt from the hotel 7 days later in Georgia, June 30th, 2015. Sergeant CJ did receive more telepathic downloads coming into his head at night. He said the squares and lines came faster than before, so it was hard for him to write it all down. He also could see that some of the squares were darkened, and he managed to get some of the new communication written down along with his comments about what was happening. From November 20th to the first week of January 2016, Sergeant CJ was waking up a lot yelling. I talked with his wife, and she said he woke her up talking loudly and was often saying a string of zeros and ones. It scared her. Through tears, she told me how much it scared her and she wanted it to stop. Sergeant CJ said he was trying to concentrate on the dark shadings in the squares that he hadn't been able to copy before because the images moved too fast in his mind's eye, but finally he thought he was getting some of it in these new pages. It is interesting that both Sergeant CJ and Sergeant Jim Peniston, 1980 and 2015, they both describe seeing the zeros and ones coming from the right side of their mind's eye, coming across in a stream right to left, and that Peniston said he never could get them out of his head. They just kept rolling till he sat down and wrote them all down. Sergeant CJ says that they will come across, and he is aware that they're there, and they're not holding in his mind. It is as if they keep repeating in some, so that he can get up and write down in a notebook, which he keeps, trying to copy as they move right to left in his mind's eye. Dr. Drew researched binary codes and found this one at thinkersmith.org that uses squares that are either clear or blackened to represent ones and zeros, very similar to what CJ was using, but Sergeant CJ had no use for and had never used binary code before this experience began. Horace Drew applied it to Sergeant CJ's new pages. On the far left of this graphic, Dr. Drew's binary translations are in those red letters going vertically down next to each of the letters that they represent. And that left word is imminent, and then code for space. And this is what is there. Imminent threat soon upon Earth's leaders and civilizations. Expose and disband hidden knowledge to all citizens. Employ safe and controlled joint study to all minds. Progression imperative for combined survival. Embrace this space vessel threat, and the rest of this makes no sense to any of us. 000 journey 12 in brackets, LY should be light year, so we assume it's 12 light years. Ikes, we assume that's President Eisenhower. Embedded, citizens are ready. AISCLOSE, evolve, close to evolve, and then 6 ones. Then Royal Emerther, that word is there. I can testify Sergeant CJ knows nothing, has never studied, doesn't know anything about UFO literature, nothing. This has all caught him totally off guard. And yet here is this word that none of us knew about until this occurred, and then we look up on the web, and here is this Royal Emerther warning, expose foreign technology to all, like Corso. Evolutionary advancement needed to prevent takeover. Bracket, the number 3, a quote mark inside of the brackets. In the last paragraph, the ET-related emerther goes back to that reference to the Council of 5 that existed on the web long before he ever had this experience, and he was trying to recall what they had downloaded in the dream, and he remembered that the beings in front of him referenced something about a Council of 5. Then on February 18, 2016, he found that he had added 5 new lines of squares and lines without darkening any of them, and he emailed me, quote, "This was fast, and I was unsure if I drew them down correctly. It felt like it was not meant for me to write them, and I felt weird about it, like it was not clear enough for me to do this. I just did the best I could, and I figured it was probably all messed up or wrong. They are the only ones I have had since I sent you the photos of my notebook. I could not darken the boxes and lines because they were moving too fast, and I was having a hard time concentrating. There was much more to this, but I could not keep up concentrating," close quote. Well, I sent these to Dr. Drew, and what he sent back was a surprise. There were 5 clumps of letters in 5 unknown words. Dr. Drew did know that the last 2 letters, KI, has originally in Sumerian, ancient Sumerian, referred to the earth. Napku Rakbu Hlarak Sanuki. So I sent the 5 words to Professor Joshua Jeffers, PhD, Research specialist, Royal Inscriptions of the Neo-Assyrian Period Project, University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, Babylonian section in Philadelphia, and here is his March 24th, 2016 reply. This is 1 year ago. Quote, the first two words and the fourth word look to be Akkadian and not Sumerian. The first could be the god Nabu, but without the cuneiform, it is difficult to say since there is no divine classifier before it here, close quote. Now, Nabu is one of the three most important gods in Sumeria. Nabu was the keeper of the tablets of destiny that recorded humanity's fate. The only two others that had more authority.
This is the end of part 4, and I really hope you return for part 5. Before you go, I wanted to bring up the most recent public case of UFO phenomenon, unlike any other we've seen, which happened only 2 years ago. On April 30th, 2023, a 911 call was placed by a 16-year-old boy named Angel, claiming to have non-human beings in his backyard after something had crashed in his backyard. A deputy in the area caught footage of a bright light on his body cam and responded to the call and then proceeded with the interview of the boy and his family. This news report you're about to see is from Channel 8 News in Las Vegas, where UFO journalist George Knapp works, and performed a follow-up on the case. As you review the footage, keep in mind, all claims of the case have been proven true, expressed by Mr. Knapp in his follow-up on it, including the law enforcement involved in the incident. This video, according to YouTube, is posted 1 year ago, and this timeline will come into play as we look deeper into this story, after you review this footage carefully.
It was the streak seen across the sky, now seen around the world. This, as our 8 News Now investigators confirm, Metro actually set up cameras at this home where a family called 911 claiming to see aliens in their backyard. And tonight, a fierce debate is underway about the legitimacy of an alleged UFO crash. Good evening, I'm Janice Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. Our 8 News Now investigators reporting about terrified members of a local family who told police they had aliens in their backyard. Chief Investigator George Knapp here to piece it all together.
You know, as with all things UFO, the public debate is ferocious and ongoing. Was it all a hoax? Were we duped? Was it all an evil plot, a cover-up, all of the above? We took another look at the hubbub to separate wheat from chaff. The fireball captured on a police body cam on the night of April 30th was real. The American Meteor Society says witnesses reported seeing it all across the West, from northeastern Utah to Southern California. Another Las Vegas resident sent us a video of the same object recorded on her home camera.
Investigation by Nexstar station KLAS.
As the story of the Las Vegas incident spread across newscasts and social media, one of NASA's planetary defense officers weighed in to say it was likely a small meteor that fell to Earth hundreds of miles away from Las Vegas. Police videos obtained by 8 News Now indicate Metro officers were among the witnesses.
One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious.
The appearance of the meteor seemingly triggered the events that followed. A frightened family called 911 and told police they had 10-foot-tall alien beings in their backyard. Officers responded to the home minutes later, interviewed the witnesses, canvassed the area, and cautiously inspected the backyard to look for intruders. One thing noticed by the officers was a circle in the soil. In conversations with us and in a podcast interview, Angel, the main witness, suggested the circle might have been created when an unknown object landed in the yard. Social media sleuths have since pointed out that the circular image has been viewable via Google Earth for more than a year. The family told us by phone they had seen suspicious vehicles with men in black types checking out their home. Turns out there is substance to that. A retired police officer fessed up on News Nation that he spent days staking out the house to see what, if anything, unfolded. What about those reports that Metro installed a special surveillance camera atop the house, presumably to watch for intruders, human or otherwise, or overzealous media? Turns out that's true as well. Metro confirmed as much in a statement to 8 News Now's David Charnes. The system stayed on the roof for days. What about the Ring camera video with the weird noise? The main witness, Angel, intimated to us the video was recorded by one of his neighbors, and the audio was from the April 30th UFO crash. It wasn't. The security camera video was recorded in mid-April, according to the man who first posted the clip. He doesn't want his name used, but says the recording was from a fireball that passed over his home in the southwestern part of the valley 2 weeks prior to the alleged alien encounter. The family declined to be interviewed by us, but members have spoken elsewhere and stick to their claims of seeing aliens in the backyard. Dozens of people on social media have analyzed and dissected the images with various claims of aliens spotted in the shadows. Police do not believe this was a hoax call, which could be a crime if done intentionally. In the fervid swamp known as UFO world, our coverage of the story was itself seen as a dastardly plot to distract attention away from a prominent whistleblower named David Grush, who stepped forward around the same time. Grush unveiled his explosive on-camera account on News Nation, which is owned by the parent company of KLAS. In spite of the local news story, Grush's story was reported by news media all over the world. Curses foiled again.
All right. So, I mean, what do you make of this whistleblower, David Grush?
He first reached out to me about a year ago. We've been in contact ever since. He's the real deal. I mean, he had a distinguished career in the Air Force. Then he went to work for a three-letter agency you probably haven't heard of, the NGA, which basically tracks everything in space, in the air, in the ocean, under the ocean, on land. They keep tracks of everything. He has the highest security clearances in our government, and in that capacity, he interacted with something like 2,000 SAP, Special Access Programs, and he learned along the way that we're reverse engineering crash flying saucers, and he's been telling that to Congress under oath behind closed doors. And I think they'll probably bring him back. So it's a pretty intriguing story. A lot like what we've been hearing about out in the Nevada desert for a long time.
Right. Of all the stories you've done over decades and decades, this one has really gone worldwide.
The backyard alien?
Yes.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy how much email we get, you know. We're not done with it. We'll see where it goes.
Say, this is not the last of that story.
No.
All right, George, thanks for that. Now let's
I want you to pay very close attention to George explaining the boy named Angel refused to be interviewed by him. And yet the second piece of new news footage I present to you here from News Nation covered them performing a follow-up on the boy's story, which now involves paranormal incidents taking place in the home. Interesting enough, this video was posted 11 months ago. One can't help but wonder why the boy would refuse to speak with George Knapp and accept an interview with a reporter, much less famous, detailing these phenomena within the same year time frame, especially with new paranormal incidents happening in the home.
Alex, good to see you. I have to ask you, what are you making? Because there's something really interesting about this. And it's that last night it was reported there was more strange activity in and around the home. What is going on here?
Right. The story goes that just about a year ago, the Kenmore family saw these mysterious, unidentifiable creatures in their backyard right here behind me, right? They said that they were 10-foot tall creatures, that they were standing there looking at them. They could see them breathing. Angel says that he was actually growling at him, freaking them out so much that they actually called 911. Well, it turns out that these unidentified, unexplainable phenomenon didn't just stop at that night. Angel went into great detail with me during our one-on-one conversation about other paranormal activity that's been happening, but this time inside of their house. It goes beyond just seeing shadows and hearing whispers. These are really freaky things that he told me during our exclusive conversation. Take a listen. You mentioned paranormal activity. What exactly did you see?
Well, I was in another room. My brother called me, and there was a upside-down cross, and there was a Jesus statue in it. They ripped Jesus out of it. They threw him like across the room, and it was floating upside down.
Are you saying floating in the air?
Yeah, like in the air. It was floating upside down.
What did you do? I mean, did you go pick it up? Did you knock it down? Like how?
No, I didn't do nothing. I was just sitting there. I was crazy. I was like, what?
But how did it come down? It's not still floating right now, is it?
No, it came down. So we got closer to it and then it dropped.
It fell to the ground. A crucifix.
Yeah.
Floating in the air, upside down. The Jesus on the crucifix had been ripped off.
Yeah.
And it was floating.
Yep.
And you can say definitively, without lies, that that is what you saw.
Yes. Swear to God, that's what I saw.
Okay, and what about the Bible? What did you tell me about the Bible?
Oh yeah, the Bible. So I was chilling normal. There was just a Bible just going like this, flipping the pages, but it was like steady. Like it wasn't because of the air. It was steady. Like somebody was holding it. As soon as I got close to it, it dropped again. It just dropped
This
again.
is inside your house, not outdoors. No,
No,
wind,
it's inside. Yeah.
no wind factor, but the page is steadily turning on a Bible.
Yeah.
And you have the same justification for that as well, demonic
Yeah.
presence?
Yeah, I can see demonic presence. Yeah.
The pages of the Bible were
Yeah.
moving on their own and an actual crucifix hanging upside down?
Yeah. So we had a couple priests come over to the house, pray over the house, and everything seems to be normal again.
Are you connecting all these things together, everything you saw in your backyard to the things you've experienced over these past few months?
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, I think so. I still don't have an explanation of what it is. You know, still pretty weird, and I have no clue what it is.
What did the priest say when they actually came to your house?
They're saying that it might be fallen angels, like demons or fallen angels, something like that.
Fallen angels inside your home.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy.
How does it make you feel about living here still?
Right now I feel good, you know. There's a lot of time priests came over, but yeah, but you know, whatever happened on last year May, that was pretty scary, man. I was pretty traumatized and stuff like that.
What does that look like to you? You said you're traumatized. I don't want to make you relive it.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Pretty bad, man. You can't sleep, you know. Not to sound like a crybaby, but you know, you cry most of the time when you think about it. You get flashbacks. You know, not a good experience.
With all the paranormal activity happening inside your house, are you thinking about moving away?
Oh yeah, soon I'm gonna move away from this house. Yeah.
Everybody or just you?
Everybody, I think.
You guys are done with this place?
Yeah.
What do you say to the people who believe that your family just made this whole thing up to try to get attention?
They can believe whatever they want, you know. I'm not doing it for fame. If I did it for fame, I would be on YouTube and stuff like that, doing more videos, but I don't care, guys. I just went on TikTok and YouTube, made my story.
And while we certainly have Angel's story to go off of, other people here in this neighborhood have also filled in some of the gaps and some of the things that they found freaky about that night that those two unidentified beings were seen by the Kenmore family in their backyard. For example, a guy who lives just right down the street just saw us out here on the side of the road and began talking to us, and he remembered that night as well. He said that for some bizarre reason, his TV all of a sudden stopped working at that time, that his surveillance cameras no longer were working, his lights were shutting off. So put all of this together, the Kenmore sighting, what the neighbors are reporting, not to mention what those Las Vegas police officers saw on those body-worn cameras, that flash of light streak across the sky 39 minutes before that 911 call. It really is an unexplainable phenomenon happening here in Las Vegas.
It's also extremely interesting to point out none of the police that were there on the night of the investigation were ever interviewed after the incident. Mr. Knapp brought up David Grush's coming forward, who was a person who worked for the government stole Angel's local Storyist thunder. A question does come up, though, that really has to be addressed. If this incident took place in Las Vegas, the home of George Knapp, then why didn't he cover the story directly the day after the incident? It was quite literally in his backyard, and I'm sure the network would have loved to have the breaking news. Another observation to think about carefully with this case. A government agent comes forward within the same time period. This local story took place as a whistleblower, who just happens to have the highest security clearance achievable in the government's Black Ops program, claimed by a person in the media. I suppose we should just believe him, shouldn't we?